today we are looking at the cause of the 1789 French Revolution. When we talk about the word cause, the cause means where did the thing start from? Where did the revolution start from? So, the National Assembly of 1789, we are looking at the cause, the beginning, the base and the foundation of the 1789 French Revolution. So, the Estates General meeting, which was not convened since 1614, finally met in 1789. Are we together? So it consisted of three classes or estates. The first estate, which was represented by the clergies, not the nobles. The first class comprised of the clergies. The second class comprised of the nobles. There was a mistake there in typing here. If you look here, the first class was represented by this one. They are supposed to be clergies, not nobles. And the second class comprised of here. These are they were supposed to be nobles, not clergies. So I let me hope you observe that. And the third class comprised of the commons. Are we together? Over the commoners, or we can call them the peasants and the middle class people. So immediately after the meeting of the Estates General that was held in the Hall of Millers in France, a dispute arose among the three orders or the three classes as to the method of voting. It resulted, actually, the conflicts broke out. The conflicts broke out due to the voting system. During the meeting, people had to put their hands out together to in the process of voting. They, for example, they pass an issue, and those that second the issue, you raise your hands up. But in the process, the way these votes were handled were unfair on the side of the peasant class or the commoners. How? One hand of a clergy like this represented two people. One hand of a peasant like this represented one. That was already unfair, because at the end of the day, the clergies, however much they were many, the peasants, however much they were many, when the clergies rose their hands up, and the nobles, after putting their hands up, for them they were multiplied by 2. And after multiplying them by 2, they were added together. At the end of the day, the peasants and the middle class people, their votes were less compared to those of the two classes. So that means any policy that was passed, it had to succeed. It's like when you come to our Ugandan parliament, the opposition groups, they have less parliamentary representatives. The ruling parties having many representatives. That's why whenever they pass an issue, it ends up succeeding. Why? The puppets in the parliament are from the government. So do not expect that if they want to pass something, it can fail. You see now they had removed, for example, our parliament. They had removed what we call that court for the army. Are you together? But because in the parliament there are many representatives of the government, the issue was passed and it succeeded. Look what the age limit issue in the constitution of our great country, Uganda. Still, it had to succeed. Reason being, the people in the parliament who are representing the government are more than those of the opposition. At the end of the day, anything that they would want to pass, it has to go through. So the order, or the order practice was for each order to sit separately, and each was given one vote. The noble and the clergy always joined together and outvoted the commoners. In the newly assembled estate general meeting, the third class formed the majority. Altogether, the third class comprised of many. The peasants are always many in the country, in the world. But these people, they used to combine the two classes. They joined them together, and in addition to that, they multiplied their votes. One vote for a clergy is one. One vote for a clergy is multiplied. One vote for a peasant is constant. Altogether. So the nobles and the clergy always joined together and outvoted the commoners. In the newly assembled general meeting, the third class formed the majority. So they insisted on joint sitting and demanded to introduce the principle of one man, one vote. That was the principle that these people demanded. One man, one vote. But for them, they said one man, two votes on the side of the clergy and the peasants. One man, one vote on the side of the peasants. Thus, they say, the deadlock. Are we together? It was on June 1789. It declared itself as the National Assembly. Are we together? The king got alarmed, and so the representatives were kept out of the hall. But they met in the adjoining Tennessee court, and solemnly resolved not to separate until a new constitution was formed for France. Altogether, so a lot of things took place during the Estate General meeting, starting with the seating arrangements. Looking at the voting system or practices during the Estate General meeting. So when it came to sitting, the peasants were made to sit far from the king. The nobles and the clergy were close at the king. So matters concerning the estate were so much influenced by the two classes, the first and the second class. So on June 23rd, 1789, a special session of the Estate General meeting was held. The king ordered that the three should sit separately. The nobles and the clergy retired to their respective chambers, but the commoners, the commons, under the leadership of Maximilian Robespierre, altogether. The third class, under the influence of Count Mirabeau, flew into a fury, and when they were asked to vacate the hall, or to leave the hall, Count Mirabeau thundered to the master of the ceremonies, that is we call him the MC, "Go and tell your master that we are here by the will of the people, and that we shall not leave except at any point of Bryant." Altogether, that is what Count Mirabeau told the master of the ceremony. So during the meeting, they tried to push out the peasants. They tried to push them out of the discussions. They tried to tell them to stay out of the hall. But this made their representative, Count Mirabeau was the go-between. Are we together? yali olujegere olugatta enjuyi zino bbiri, the first class, the second class, okay, the state and the peasant class and the nobles, over the state and the third class. So Count Mirabeau, that's why with his death in 1791, it did not leave France in peace, because when he died, it left the powers in the hands of the people without experience, who only knew how to fight, who only knew how to organize revolutions. So Count Mirabeau, as they were pushing out the peasants and then, let me say the third class, he stood and he said to the MC, "Go and tell your master that we are here. We are here by the will of the people. Tuliwo wano ku lw'abantu. And we shall not leave. Tetugenda kuvaawo kakibe ki. We are not going to leave at any point. We are going to stay here because we are here by the will of the people. No one is leaving the hall. Why are we pushed out of the hall? We've attended this meeting to look at the ways, the possible solutions for the problems that the people are facing, and we are pushing us out of the hall. We are not leaving." Louis XVI, the king, submitted to the will of the people. On June 27, 1789, Louis XVI ordered the Free States to sit as one body. Thus, the National Assembly, in its true sense of the term, came into existence. So King Louis ordered these people to come and sit as one body and discuss on the touching and the puzzling problem. So the storming of Bastille prison, it was 14th July 1789. That's when the prison of Bastille was stormed. When we talk about storming, they attacked the prison. The angry mobs attacked the prison and they broke the doors of the prison, and the angry mobs, angry prisoners came out of the prison. Remember, Bastille's prison was the great pillar. It was the greatest pillar of the monarchy, whereby they used to imprison innocent people in their prison without trial. So unhappy people who were imprisoned, they came out of the prison. The prison was stormed, and the chaos, a lot of things took place in France. So a lot of things happened during the Estates General meeting, and as the meeting was going on, a lot of things also happened. The prison was stormed the 14th July, and this could not leave the things the same. So some unhappy events developed, which led we call them the Hereditary powers attempt at reform. So the Paris mobs became tough altogether, over resistive. The Bastille prison, the French prison, was stormed by we call them the angry mobs. Altogether, the infiltrate mob. So it pulled down the wall, murdered the guards, and freed the prisoners. So the angry mobs went and broke the prison. They let the prisoners out of the prison. They went and killed all the guards. So after killing all the guards, they had to let other people to move out of the prison. Why? The Bourbon's prison, or the Bastille prison, acted as the greatest pillar of the monarchy. They used to imprison political opponents. They used to imprison innocent people in that prison. So the storming of the Bastille prison was a sign to similar actions of violence throughout the country. So riots, riots began against the autocrats. A crowd of women marched they marched from Paris to Versailles. But these were not only women. They were not only women. They comprised of men. Men dressed like women. They put on dresses and they moved with them, showing their grievance. They marched from the capital city of France, that is Paris, and they moved towards Versailles, where we found the Hall of Millers, where we found the King's Palace. So when they went there, they entered the palace and brought out the king, queen, and their children. They were asked to accompany the coward. Why do I call it coward? They were asked to accompany the crowd to Paris. So as the procession moved on, the mobs shouted every now and then, "We have the baker and the baker's wife and the little cook. Boy, now we shall have bread." This is when they are trying to show their discontentness over the price of the bread. The bread's price had been increased. The price of the bread had been increased. When it increased, it made the work and created starvation. It created a problem for France. At the end of the day, it could not leave the revolution out. So that is it. I beg to submit from here with the cause of the French Revolution, but we have the core, or we call it the foundation. We have the cause of the 1789 French Revolution. It's here with you. Look at the Legislative Council, whereby it was influenced by different people. And others were left out. We have the National Convention, 1792 to 1795. A lot of things happened, and this could not leave France the same way. This even resulted into the reign of terror, which claimed many people's lives. So that is it. That is it. That is it. You can go through the core of the 1789 French Revolution you yourself and try to see and observe what really happened and what were the results of the revolution. I beg to submit from here. Have a good day.